I'm excited to be doing this technical analysis video because once again, the technical analysis of it all, the data that we track on this YouTube channel, been doing this for almost 6 years. Once again, it is proving consistent. It is proving true. It is proving useful. And this yellow upper trend line that we have on Bitcoin goes back to the summer of 2022. Look at this. July 2022, we're hitting our third touch right now. And right now, what's happening on this daily chart, this story over a year worth of setup, it plays so well into the macro story that we're tracking. I started doing technical analysis on this YouTube channel almost 6 years ago because this game for me is about pacing myself. I'm checking prices all the time in terms of cryptos. I got into the technical analysis of it all because I want to be able to put the emotion aside of opening up charts and really understand what's going on here, what's potentially next. And if something crazy does happen next, is it bad? Is it good? Is it normal? And here we are. We're in that environment right now. There's a lot of people out there I know that are watching cryptos right now, and they're maybe seeing some red candles today, right? And they might start being like, man, I guess that whole bull run is over. I have news for you. We have not even entered the bull market. We have not even entered that post-halving crazy season of the bulls. That's not here yet. We're in the setup period. I want to discuss what Bitcoin is doing on this daily chart, why it is so consistent and commonplace historically, based on data that we have historically. And I'm also going to dig into the ADA charts and discuss what's going on there. All of these charts coming together so nicely as we pivot from the bear market to the bull market. So please hit the subscribe, hit the notifications if you don't have them turned on, smash the like. Your support means a ton to me as we do pivot to the bull market. Let's jump into the video. I started talking about this upper trend line in yellow. I want to paint some context into what is happening here because we got a really crucial move to this trend line. And what happens next, I think, is very important in terms of what to anticipate. I want to start with this very quick clip. This is from October 27th, the end of October. Check it out. We might have a very similar environment. Bitcoin starts consolidating on the RSI, as you see there, speculatively, while going higher. The question I have in going higher is this. What happens at this yellow trend line? Because this yellow trend line, we're talking about bearish divergence speculatively in that video. Bitcoin was around $34,000. We're talking about the move to 37. There it is. Obviously slightly above 37, but there's the move to the upper trend line. And it is absolutely the bearish divergence that we were anticipating. So we have higher high on price chart. Let me get the paintbrush. We can see it a little bit better. So just this move to the upside, to the yellow trend line, higher highs for Bitcoin. And then we have the consolidation and the lower high pattern set up on the momentum oscillator. That's bearish divergence. So we're falling on the momentum oscillator. We're rising on price. That's falling momentum. That is to say a potential signal that Bitcoin might just start weakening in terms of price. If you zoom out on a daily chart, first off, it's pretty obvious. Even if Bitcoin's falling, it is what it is. It's what Bitcoin does. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes. That's what Bitcoin does. But from a momentum perspective, when we get overbought, it's the number one thing to anticipate. And so in anticipating that, what can we look for in terms of targets? If we go to the very zoomed in 6 hour, this is the move really zoomed out from the end of October. The higher highs that we just talked about in terms of Bitcoin price, this is what it looks like. It's really it's a rising channel of higher highs and higher lows. And you can actually notice Bitcoin, it's falling. It's around $36,000 right now, but actually hasn't even broken really this lower trend line. But I think in terms of what the momentum oscillator, what it's doing on the daily chart, I think it's a good idea at the very least to monitor it, but also to anticipate Bitcoin might break this trend line soon, right? We might not be so fortunate to get these really nice bounces. We might, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but we might be at this point now where this trend line falls. And if that's the case, what are we looking at potentially to the downside? Target to the downside out of that channel is around $33,000. That's notable on the daily chart. We go to the daily chart now to see what that looks like for some context. Look at it. It is obviously that would have the 20-day moving average falling as support. That's that first area of support that we want to see for Bitcoin. And it's still in play. And again, I'm going to talk about that if it holds in the short term. I'll talk about that in a minute. But if it falls, we have the $33,000 target to the downside. in that journey, we might see the 50-day pulling up into Bitcoin, the 200-day down here pulling up as well. And we'll monitor to see if support holds there. If it doesn't, then we have this area of support, which is a higher low support from when Bitcoin took off to the swing high. We have this area down here. It's a higher low Fibonacci. 618 around 30,000, just above 30,000, 30 to 31. And the 786 down here around 29,000. That's that higher low support if this area falls, right? If Bitcoin actually really does some consolidation. And even in that case, Bitcoin and what it's doing on the zoomed out daily chart is just normal, right? If we're revisiting this $30,000 area, if we go to this stories of Bitcoin on the macro, check out at this stage last cycle, Bitcoin was doing something similar. A nice move to the upside, and then it fell to these moving averages. Cycle before that, you can just see when Bitcoin, and I've been talking about this, Bitcoin escaped this 20 moving average, the 20-week moving average right here. It fell back to the 20-week moving average. Post or pre-halving into halving, we might be in a similar environment. Bitcoin's escaping moving averages, and what happens? We might pull into those moving averages. $30,000 region. Bitcoin could fall going into halving. It's normal. We're not even at the halving yet. And so while we're tracking these charts, I think it's good to anticipate potential consolidations. And that's what it looks like for Bitcoin right now. On the short term, and I'm talking about like right now, today, going into this afternoon, tonight, what happens at this lower trend line? Bitcoin, if it starts going up and bouncing off this trend line, back to the upside, testing 38, potentially breaking above 38, testing this upper trend line. If Bitcoin can get a breakout, we have a target of around $41,000 to the upside. This would be an incredible bullish divergence from actual previous cycles. And it would also, if we look to the daily chart, if we get a shift in momentum back to the upside, it could be a really big deal in terms of how bullish crypto is looking right now, how bullish Bitcoin is looking right now. But that's going to take a lot of momentum shift for this move to happen. Target to the upside, if Bitcoin starts taking off once again, 38,300 or so. That's a really nice target, and that's a really nice run for Bitcoin on the short term from where it is right now. We're looking at around 5 to 6%. That's a lot for what Bitcoin is going on. For what Bitcoin is under, the pressure it's under right now, and that is to say this bearish divergence that we've been talking about on the daily. So the targets to the downside, it is what it is. That's why I like to do TA, is you just put the emotion aside. The fall is ugly. Red candles are not fun. The green candles are way more fun, but it is what it is. For me, it's pacing myself. It's understanding the bigger story here, and that's what it looks like. We pivot to ADA, and the same is true. This is the bigger story for ADA as it's zoomed out on the weekly. Bear markets. This is what happens. And then guess what? Bull markets. This is what happens. But what is it? It's the in-between area of bear markets and bull markets. And this is where we are. It's going to be just volatile, wild ride before we get into the next bull market. It's the same is true here. It's going to be a volatile, wild ride before we get into the next bull market. We go to the daily chart on ADA, and this is what we're looking at. A very similar story playing out that we just talked about on Bitcoin. This is a story we've been tracking for Cardano as well, and that is to say the bearish divergence setup. Check out ADA was seeing this nice higher high momentum, and then all of a sudden at the end here, even as price was wicking higher, most recently as like yesterday or so, you can see the momentum just fading, right? So if we zoom in on the daily chart so we can see this a little bit better, check this out. Look at the RSI here. Slower movement momentum oscillator. All the way down here, it's below overbought. It's not rising anymore. It's falling. It's weakening. While yesterday, we're trying to see this breakout. You see this wick here. Just a very weak breakout for ADA. It was nice. I remember, I think that was in the middle of, I think it was like 4 a.m. for me or something. I woke up and saw it. ADA's breaking 40 cents. I was hoping for a momentum shift here. ADA to break out and maybe follow other altcoins like AVAX. Just didn't happen. There's resistance here. There's bearish divergence here. And it's the same story for ADA as it is for a lot of cryptos right now, including Bitcoin that we just saw. It is consolidation. And when we have these pivots out of bear markets and we're trying to see this macro shift happen, we're going to need these big dips. And so far, what we can do is anticipate what does downside look like. Very similar to Bitcoin. It's taking a swing low to swing high resistance, and we have a Fibonacci retracement. It is a 30-cent 618 down to around the 786, which is around 27.28. That's our main support area to evaluate for ADA. What we want to do in telling that story is look at these moving average support areas. Again, just like Bitcoin, what happens at the 20-day? There's potential for ADA, for Bitcoin, to see support here and actually start going higher. And that's that bullish divergence. That's that this is doing something different type of deal, right? I don't put percentages on scenarios like this, but for me, I would say that's like maybe a 20 to 30% chance that even happens, maybe even a little bit less than that, that we're actually going to just bounce off a 20-day support. I think a bigger consolidation is needed from just historical context in terms of technical analysis rules in general. I think a bigger consolidation is needed. Maybe test this higher low Fibonacci. Would absolutely love to see support at the 20-day and ADA just to, in the next day or so, continue to the upside. Would absolutely love that. That would be a breakout out of this upper trend line that we have a 70-cent target or so to the upside. I would enjoy that. However, we have the 20-day might fall. If that is the case, we have the 50 in blue, the 200 in red on this daily chart, very confluent with this higher low Fibonacci. And I would say those support areas around really 38 down to 27 cents, or 30 cents to around 27 cents. That's a support area for ADA. Also remember, we had this falling wedge that ADA broke out of, got very close to the target, right? And coming back down now is just normal. And if we go to the ADA weekly chart, let's open up this one. You can see, actually that's ADA ETH. That is, there we go. So we have the 50-week moving average right around 32 cents. And we have the 20-week moving average. And this is where it's key, everybody. This is the macro key area. The 20-week moving average in green, right around 28.5 cents. That is so important when we're analyzing the daily chart, because what did we just say? This higher low Fibonacci is like right around there. So if ADA is going to consolidate, we truly do want to see ADA see support above and at this area. And that's something I'll be monitoring. There's no guarantees that it happens. We might see some pain. As we exit this red rectangle that you see here on this chart, we might see some pain. We're going to monitor that. And the reason I say that is because when we zoom out, and you might know because I've been talking about it a lot lately, last cycle, pre-halving, at this time of the cycle, ADA was falling out of the red box and going lower, right? So ADA is already showing a lot more strength this cycle around than last cycle, but there is absolutely potential ADA just makes us wait a little bit longer. It's what it does. So that's my analysis on ADA. That's my analysis on Bitcoin right now. End of the day, everybody, this is just all very normal for Bitcoin, for Cardano, for altcoins. Everything is so on pace and on track. And that excites me when I'm doing this technical analysis. These things are just playing out. I don't know if you've been watching my videos, and it's nothing special that I've done. We're just tracking data. But these things are playing out so nicely and consistently. I appreciate you cruising by, everybody. I really do. Again, if you're not a subscriber, if you're still here, hit the subscribe. We're going to keep analyzing data, news as it breaks. There's a lot going on in crypto. Things are really heating up. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I will see you all in the next video. God bless.